Bert and I have talked a lot about his anxiety on this podcast. Did he have a lot of anxiety as a kid?
He had separation problems.
Yeah.
He had a terrible time. It wasn't that he didn't want to leave us as much as he was afraid of what would happen to us when he was not with us.
Interesting.
And when he went to Berkeley, was 6 years old, went to first grade. And before he started, Thurman Munson was killed in an airplane crash.
Mm-hmm.
Typical Bert. Mm-hmm. He listened to this newscast, and somebody said he was flying home to see his children. So he would get to first grade and he would start crying. Aww. And all the girls in the class would huddle around him and take care of him. I think that was the beginning of something else. And his teacher, who was a good friend of mine, still to this day, and she said, she came to me and she said, well, I said to him, Bert, what are you crying about? Your mother will be back. Yes. And he said, you don't know that, Mrs. Thomas. She goes, yes, she will be here to pick you up. And he said, no, I can't depend on that, because what if she's in a car accident and is killed?
Oh my God.
And Mary Will said, this kid really. And at that time, because the kid's 47, that would have been 40 years ago, not much was known about anxiety. Not much was really appreciated about younger children, younger human beings, and what they were feeling. A child was somebody you molded, not somebody you allowed to unfold.
Right.
Not someone you respected. It was someone you controlled. Right. And you don't control a child with anxiety. You have to understand it, and you have to coach it, but you have to understand it and support them through it. And what was interesting is shortly after that, I went to work at Berkeley. So I didn't leave, and he saw me in the classroom. Right. But Annie and Cotty both had anxiety about that. So, and of course I was running, I was in a classroom with children who had separation issues as a teacher. And then as a principal of a preschool where, talk about separation anxiety, talk about neurotic parents. And so I had to begin research and understand what the parents were going through. So I always had an open door policy. I had a policy where call us at any time. We didn't have videos or video cams or anything at that time. We didn't pull the child out to talk to the parent, because we wanted the child to learn that every time mom went away and came back, it was an opportunity where you learned that you could trust that she would come back.
Yeah.
And that research fell into my lap with Bert. And so that was the only thing I knew to do, was to just assure him that I understand you're upset. I understand you're worried, but I am here. And when I come today, you will learn that you can trust that I will come back. And I don't think that fixed his anxiety, but I think it lessened it about us leaving him and going away from him. Now, Annie wouldn't do an overnight, and Cotty, I taught at the school where Cotty was, and she still had, they just, anxiety is anxiety. You can't, and to this day, to this moment, everybody in the family that has anxiety looks at me and gets angry that I don't have it.
Yes. Preaching to the choir. You and I are same.
And as I say to Cotty, I know that you're feeling something that I can't feel, but understand it's not that I feel it and dismiss it.
Right.
It's that I'm wired differently. You're not wrong for the way you're wired. You're wired the way you're wired.
Yes.
I'm wired the way I'm wired, you know, and we support each other.
I feel that way too. I feel like when Bert has big anxiety stuff, and I'm like sincerely trying my hardest to understand and be compassionate and open and loving and supportive, it's still a failure, because at the base, I can't understand what he's going through. And for him, I'm failing him, And I'm like, but I'm failing you by not being wired to have anxiety, and I can't do anything about that. So can you forgive me that piece? And I find that he has a really hard time when he's in the moment forgiving me that I
That's
don't
very true.
have it. And it's very frustrating as a person that doesn't have anxiety. I totally validate all their feelings, but I feel like mine are not. Do you ever feel that way?
What I've learned, no, my feelings are fine. That's
well, good.
No,
my feelings are fine too, but sometimes I go, I don't get any credit at all, in your brain at all, for being like, maybe since I don't have anxiety, I should maybe pay attention to what she's doing. So if she's not terrified in this moment, then maybe I should let that affect me positively. Instead, he blames me for not also being terrified.
Well, but in the airplane, you're supposed to put your mask on first.
Yes.
Before you help your child.
Yes.
And so it may be that, and what I was going to say, what I've learned is I respect their anxiety.
Yes.
I don't negate their anxiety.
Thank you.
And I don't mean to say I play into it, but I respect it by going along with it.
Right.
Like to be COVID tested every other day.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll go along with it. You know, you see, because that helps someone else feel better.
Yes, I do that too. But there are times where I go, I cannot go along with this anymore.
Oh, well, yes.
I'm good. I'm good. This is now beyond. And I can't go into agreement with that. And
well, there are times I think there are times that you enable their anxiety.
Totally. Yeah.
And you shouldn't. But, you calm them down. And I remember once Al and I were driving somewhere and I was angry. Okay, Leanne, how many times in the 15 years you've known me have you seen me get angry at the family?
Not a lot.
No. And he was trying to one up my anger so that I had to back off, and I wasn't, because I was right.
Right.
And he then finally stopped and said, look, this is the deal. I get upset and you calm me down. That's the way we work. And I thought, that's probably very true.
Yeah.
And he feels safe getting upset because he knows he can lean on me because I don't get upset.
Right.
And it is hard when he gets upset about the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean he's irrational upset. It's usually very, very, very valid.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that I know. The phone call the next day, the kids are going to totally come around to whatever it was that he thought they should be doing.
Right.
And he'd have a calm conversation with them, and then there would not be a problem.
Right.
But I'd never say that to him.
Right.
I say, you have a good point. You're going to, I know tomorrow you're going to have a great conversation with them, and this will be resolved. I can't believe that so-and-so would do something as stupid.
Right.
It's just they don't know, hon. They don't know.
Yeah.
They're not in your position. The whole anxiety thing, though, we've learned so much about in the terms of mental health and for educational purposes.
Right.
But it's also, we've learned it's not usually just anxiety. It's also a temperament. And some people have anxiety and shut down.
Right.
And some people have anxiety and act, and then it's all out. They throw up their anxiety all over the place.
Yeah.
So we're learning a lot about what goes along with anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times that I look at Bert and I think, wow, he's successful because of all the things that some psychologist or psychiatrist would have wanted to kick out.
Totally, yeah.
And we're very fortunate that he chose to do what he chose to do.
Yeah. Because
those qualities create that edge or that raw nerve or that person that thinks it makes sense to go on stage, take your shirt off and make people laugh. I mean, I think it makes perfect sense, but that's why I said first do no harm. I knew what I had.
Right.
But I mean, I remember when he first went into comedy, I thought, well, good comedians are usually screwy. Bert's not going to be very good at. Little did I know how screwy he was.
And he might be a little bit screwy.
But when you look at it, and it's like Al's law career. Al, when he did litigation, he was so petrified. Anxiety ruled. He was petrified he wouldn't say the right thing or do the right thing. He over-prepared. He's never lost a case.
Right.
But he doesn't do litigation.
Right.
He learned, I'm not doing litigation. I'm going to do real estate because it's calm. I can control it. And that's how he chose to do what suited his temperament, his set of skills. And fortunately, Bert did the same thing.